Well, hello there. It's Paul again, and this episode I'm going to show you my DIY optical viewfinder for the Bolex reflex camera. So the story is that I've wanted a replacement for one of my cameras that I built of the Bolex reflex viewfinder. I really wanted a 13X, but neither 13X or a 10X came up in affordable price range anytime recently. So I went back to thinking about, why don't I just make one from scratch? And you know, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not an optical engineer for sure. So I knew how to build the mechanical parts of it up to about here. This is a piece of U-shaped metal like this one. And this is an actual Bolex, but it's off an H8, but I needed the 16 version, which is a slight bit longer on this end, the end with the notch in it here. Oops, wrong end. The end with the notch in it here that goes around the port on the top of the reflex system that looks down into it. There's this little hole here. And this is a little shorter. It needs to be about out to here for a H16. This is a H8 one. Anyway, let's move along. So I went and sourced some materials, and I designed the upper cover here out of a piece of thin sheet metal. Let me show you what that looks like. This is what it started out as, a very thin piece of easy to bend aluminum type sheet metal. And so I designed a form block, what we would call a forming block. I've been in aerospace manufacturing of parts on small scale for probably 35 years now. And so I designed this in Fusion and printed it out of resin. Then I designed the female die, which the two pieces go together and they're indexed together with 4 holes that are the screw holes for the top cover here. And then I cut this down to the correct width and put the 4 holes in it, put some index pins to keep these two things in alignment, and then I took it out on my press and pressed it, and this is what came out. I did have to do some filing, and I trimmed these rails down a little bit. They were a little oversized, but overall it came out pretty good. And so I wrinkle painted it yesterday and did the final assembly. There's a prism right where these 2 screws are. These are not on the original one. You can see there's no screw holes here. So Bolex had a different system for holding the prism that directs the image down into the reflex viewfinder system. So this fits very tightly and perfectly. I have 4 screw holes. I haven't put the screws in them yet, but I've had them in and out and they're fine. This part I designed in Fusion 360. And so this is the, I guess you'd call this the mounting boss for the optics. I can remove this real quick so you get an idea what's in there. This is not like the Bolex one. The Bolex one has a helical thread, and then you turn this part here and it goes in and out. And in a linear fashion, it doesn't rotate. It just goes in and out because the helical drive thread, this is held steady by a slot in a screw, or actually a little stud that sticks up from the camera mounting plates and goes through there. Anyway, mine's a little different. I put the stop screw in the same place as the Bolex one. And anyway, this is, if you look at this as a low power microscope, it'll give you an idea of some of the parts that may be in here. I'm not going to go over what I have in here because it took me many years of research to find them, and I'm considering making these and possibly selling them, or making this a little better and, you know, making it similar to the Bolex where it screws in and out. I put the little hash marks on it and everything. This is a 3D printed part, and it's just a facade that goes over the optics down here from a microscope. It's a microscope viewfinder, and so this goes through here. There's another lens in here, and then it hits the right angle prism and goes down. And so to adjust this version, I just move it in and out like this and then tighten the screw down, which works perfectly. It's very, very sharp. The image is very sharp and clear. I had no problem focusing the camera, because what it does is it looks down at there's a prism, a rhombus prism that goes from under here to over here, and I believe it's called the transit prism or something like that. And then it looks down straight at the ground glass. So you're always focusing this on the ground glass. So you have to go, it's a very complicated thing. I don't want to, get too deep into it, because, I don't know the theory behind it all. I was just very lucky. I got with ChatGPT and talked to ChatGPT about it, and it kind of clued me in on what I needed for the viewfinder in here. But this lens that's in the middle here, I had to find that on my own, and it took a lot of trial and error. So I'm not just going to give that information out and somebody will just make. Okay, so this is the second part of the video now, and this is the camera I've been working on for a while. I converted to Super 16 by mounting a badge, then I put some tape on there holding this all together while I was testing it, and managed to pull this up. But I have many of these and I'll just replace it. Anyway, this is the S/M that I converted to a reflex. You'll see another video. If you go through my recent videos, you'll see that I talk about this in more detail. But this is one that I had completely 3D printed. The internal parts, except for the block that holds the angle prism right here, are all integrated into this lower part here. And then the top was also 3D printed as a separate part. So it came out pretty good. I painted it in the hammer finish, that's like right here. And I need to touch that up. I have a whole can, I have like a quart of this color paint, so I'm gonna touch that up soon. I was gonna do it before the video, but anyway, I wanted to move along with it. So anyway, this is supported by two wedge-shaped, I guess they're not really brackets, but they're attaching bosses or whatever, because the top of the camera here, because it's a molded metal piece, a die-cast piece, there's a 3 degree angle right here on the top of where this thing mounts. So I had to make these little wedge-shaped, they're flat on the top and 3 degrees on the bottom, the fat end being this way and the skinny end being that way. And then I had to locate all the holes. I have, like I said, I've been doing aerospace for, way over 30 years at this point. So picking up these holes, making these wedges, all that was not a big deal for me. It was time consuming. It took me several hours of machining and fitting and picking up the holes and transferring them to this viewfinder and all that. You can get them. I haven't been able to find an extra set yet, but I'm sure they're out there on eBay or somebody. I'll be able to find them pretty soon. But I'm very happy with this, so it's fine the way it is. And this all works perfectly. This has a different lens on the inside. I had acquired a tiny macro lens many years ago, and I haven't been able to find a replacement until the last couple of weeks. But I put one in here, and so we have the microscope viewfinder inside this, facade of the Bolex 13X housing, and then I have a boss here for mounting the eye cup on, and it's all attached to the microscope viewfinder. And the microscope viewfinder goes through a lens right here, a macro lens, and then it goes to the prism and bounces down into here, and then the image goes across here and then looks straight down at the ground glass inside the Bolex reflex housing here. Anyway, I've had the idea of doing this for many years. I just didn't know, I knew I could build the mechanical part of it and the facades and all that, but I wasn't sure what kind of optics would go in here or here. And so, like I said, I talked with ChatGPT about it, and it gave me a few clues, which I went through probably 20 combinations of lenses and viewfinders before I found the one that works perfectly here. It's not as big, the image is not as big as the 13, but it is bigger than the 10. So it's somewhere between, say a 12, say 12 and a half, something like that. Maybe 11, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to measure that. But anyway, it's very sharp, very clear. I have no problem focusing this camera, and It says similar optical qualities, like when you stop the lens down, everything becomes dimmer. So, you know, that's just part of the Bolex reflex system that we all are familiar with. You're only dealing with about a third of the light, like 2.8% of the light, or 28% of the light goes up through the viewfinder and the rest goes through. There's no flicker because it's a prism and not a moving mirror system. But the downside is the image will never be as bright as like my ARRI 16S down there, because that ARRI viewfinder system, you get 100% of the light through the viewfinder, and that's a beautiful big optical system, and you know, it's superior to probably the Bolex here. But the Bolex has a lot of great features in that it doesn't require a motor. It's built, I won't say it's built like a tank, but it's built like an armored car maybe. So, you know, it's very solid camera. BBC used them for many years, and they have a great reputation in the documentary filming and wildlife filming, things like that, and man on the street type films, and also a few features. But they've been used as second cameras when they've been converted to Super 16 on many productions, I'm sure. Anyway, here's the viewfinder system. I may make these available in the future. If you like what you saw in this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to see more about this and more about my other things, I have some very cool stuff coming up. I'll give you a little hint. It's a Bolex-like camera that is digital, that was all handmade. Okay? So if you like this and subscribe, you'll see my videos in the future. If not, you may or may not get them. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.